Well, what I've looked into is about $100 million temporary tax on the wealthiest 5%. That is half of what they got from the Trump tax cuts that have not trickled down to everyday working Vermonters. And instead, let's invest in our infrastructure. Those are all infrastructure investments so that when that temporary tax ends, there would not be the pressure to keep it going, because we would invest in the infrastructure that would then build the economy, which would grow for our state.
You know, the top 5% of those who pay taxes in their state make $159,000 per family and more. So we're talking about middle-class families that are going to be taxed more for some of those initiatives.
Our governor proposed initially a 5% cut across the board in state government, which would have further injured and weakened our infrastructure for vulnerable Vermonters and would have not invested in the economy of our future. To me, when we're struggling, that's when we do ask the wealthiest to help.
I would love to see the 5% reduction proposal you keep talking about that I proposed. Maybe you could provide that to me because I haven't seen it.
Well, when the budget process started in the middle of COVID, I believe you even might have said 8%. But then because there was a quarterly budget, it became 2 at the time for that quarter. Thankfully, the legislature and thankfully the taxpayers had resources.
There was no proposal, David. Let's be honest.
Phil, I wonder if you could talk about why you oppose a wealth tax.
The wealth tax?
Yeah.
Yeah, because we don't have that many wealthy people in the state. When you look at really the numbers that we have here and the choices they have, we've seen how people have fled the state due to taxes. You know, how many of Vermonters that we assume are Vermonters out there, they're actually Florida residents? A lot of them. We have, I think, those making over $1 million in the state of Vermont right now, I believe there's only 500. Now, you impose a wealth tax, what are they going to do? They're just going to establish residency somewhere else. And then they're going to visit the state, and they're going to stay in their homes as non-residents. So I think it's just counterintuitive. We just don't have the numbers that I'm hearing that we do. Again, when you take the 5% of the highest income pay 40% of our taxes right now. That 5% starts at $159,000 per family. So we're not talking about a grand amount of money here. I mean, think about 2 teachers, married teachers. That's probably it. They're going to be, the tax proposal that I'm hearing from David is that it's going to impact them, the middle-class families as well. So I just don't think it works. I just think they run out of money because people will flee the state.
The Public Assets Institute has looked at these numbers quite a bit. And what's interesting is the same percentage of people leave New Hampshire every year as leave Vermont every year to go down to Florida. So it's pretty clear on a percentage basis that it's really not the taxes that are driving people one way or another, it's the weather. And, you know, I want to tackle the climate crisis. I want winter, and so maybe that's counterintuitive to then driving more people to Florida. But to me, we have seen clearly, I've heard from many, that do locate to Vermont because of who we are, what we do as a community, and many have said they're willing and think that it is appropriate that after seeing tax cuts after tax cuts after tax cuts at the federal level, they would be willing to pay more to rebuild the Vermont economy, to help their neighbors. The question is, in difficult times, do we cut our way out and do austerity budgeting, which is shown to fail in Greece, it's been shown to fail in this country, and what do we do after recessions? What do we do after the Great Depression? We infuse money into the economy, we build the infrastructure, and that's what I'm looking forward to do. We need vision to get out of this situation. We can't just say, well, when COVID's gone, little investments here and there will somehow re-spark the economy. We need to build to restart our economy.
I would just say that New Hampshire is doing quite well. They have the same climate that we do, and they have twice the population. Their economy is booming. No sales tax, no income tax, no corporate tax. So they're doing okay. I think what I'm hearing from, and maybe we're hearing from different folks, what I'm hearing is we're taxing people too much here in Vermont. We're not providing enough certainty. Every time there's a new initiative, it just costs more money and a new tax rather than finding money within the system to make it more efficient. So My approach is different. I think the proof is the first 2 years, there wasn't a single tax or fee. And since then, we've had surpluses every single year. So there is a path forward by reducing the burden that we can actually grow the economy organically.
With respect to the economy, the governor was fortunate in that for those first 3 years, we were in a growing economy. That was true across the country. It wasn't necessarily Vermont policies, and it's good that we had those surpluses, and it's good that the Vermont economy was strong, but that was true all over the region. With respect to New Hampshire and population, it's very clear. Down near Boston, they're doing very well. Upstate, they're challenged just as Vermont is. So again, these are demographic and geographic issues more than tax policy and sort of political rhetoric. When you look at most of upstate New Hampshire, you look at Vermont, you look at upstate New York, most are struggling. Frighteningly, Vermont's doing better, which is a good thing. And we do have a more progressive tax system. And that's because people are willing to support our schools and support our infrastructure. Finally, I'd like to say, I met with the governor in June of 17 to bring an efficiency idea.